Swing trading is often misunderstood as a complex trading strategy. However, with the right tools and system, it can be very easy to predict where a stock will go over the course of a few days, weeks, or even months. That's why in today's video, I will be breaking down my entire swing trading strategy with you from start to finish. So first, let's start off with the indicators that I use for swing trading. So the first two indicators that I use for my swing trading strategy is going to be the 21 exponential moving average and the 34 exponential moving average. Essentially, what I am looking for is for price to build a base on top of the 21 and 34 EMA and hold it as support. Looking at a few trades that I've taken in the past, we can start off with uranium. I ended up going long on uranium on the breakout right here. But one of the main reasons I like this setup was because, as we can see, for many months in a row, we held this 21 and 34 EMA as support. So again, this is a very good example of what I like to look for as far as price building a base on top of the 21 and 34 EMA. Let's take a look at another example on Costco. So I went long on Costco equity at the end of this month and this month right here. But looking at the previous months, what do we notice? We built a base on top of this 21 and 34 EMA for many months in a row before Costco finally broke out and continued higher. Something that I'm watching right now is going to be Tesla, except on the quarterly and the yearly time frame. So if we're looking at Tesla right now on the quarter, we had this very big move up, first off, after it built a base on top of the 21 and 34 EMA before breaking out, but very large and aggressive move up. We hold this area of support for many quarters in a row, and we're still holding this area of support. So with Tesla, I will be looking for a move higher. Looking at one more example on a swing trade that I took on Amazon. This one was a while ago, but as we can see with Amazon on the daily time frame, it held the daily 21 and 34 EMA as support for many days in a row before pushing into a new all-time high at that time. So when you are using the 21 and 34 EMA, just imagine there's like a green rectangle going through the 21 and 34. That is going to be your buy zone. But again, the main thing that you are looking for is visually for price to hold above that 21 and 34 EMA as support. Now, if you want, you can use this strategy to the downside. It's just for me personally, I swing trade best to the upside. Essentially, what you would be looking for is the same exact thing, but flipped upside down. So we pull up Costco on the monthly time frame, inverse Costco. You can see how we were rejecting that 21 and 34 EMA. You would just constantly be looking for price to reject off of this area to look for a short entry. Now, as far as the time frames that I am looking for this to happen on, when it comes to swing trading, I will look at a daily time frame, a 2-day time frame, a 3-day time frame, a weekly, monthly, and quarterly. Now, the highest time frame that is validating my setup, that is what I will watch. So for example, if we were to go back to Tesla and we start on the daily time frame, well, okay, Tesla is not building a base on top of the 21 and 34 EMA, so I don't care about that. If we go to the 3-day time frame, same thing, we're not building a base above that, so I don't care. Go to the weekly, same thing, not building a base. Zoom out to the monthly, we're starting to build a base. But let's go one time frame higher on the quarterly. And what do we see? We're building the base on top of the 21 and 34 EMA. So for me, this is the time frame that I would be watching for my swing. And this would be a quarterly setup on Tesla. So again, the highest the time frame that is holding on top of that 21 and 34 EMA, that is the time frame that you want to watch for the trade. And that is the time frame that the trade is confirming on. Now, the next thing that I am looking for in price is for it to be in a squeeze. So the second indicator that I use is the TTM squeeze. You can get this on TradingView. You can use the free version on Thinkorswim. But essentially what the squeeze is telling us is that price is very condensed. So imagine you take a Ziploc baggie, you blow air into the bag and you twist it up. Eventually that air and the bag is going to pop and the air is going to come out at a rapid pace. That's exactly what is going to happen with price if it's in a squeeze. So if we're looking over here, Tesla didn't have enough data to represent that it was in a squeeze, but 100% it was squeezing right here. And you can see on the very first quarter that we ended up getting a squeeze. Well, what happened? Price ended up pushing to the upside. So now that Tesla is now back in a quarterly squeeze, well, if price is very condensed and that squeeze eventually fires, again, going back to the Ziploc baggie scenario, Well, when that baggie pops and all the air comes out, what's going to happen? We are going to get a big move in the market. So if we go back to that Costco example on the monthly time frame, what do we notice? We built the base on top of that 21 and 34 EMA. We held it as support for many, many months in a row, but also we can see on the squeeze that price was squeezing, telling us that a big move was going to come. Now, how do we know that price is in a squeeze? That's going to be represented by the red dots and the orange dots. So whenever you see those, you want to pay attention. And the way that you can best understand which way a squeeze is going to fire is, again, if we are continuously building a base on top of the 21 and 34 EMA with the red and orange dots on the squeeze, that is a very clear signal that there is a very high probability that that squeeze will fire up. Now, as we can see with Costco, from whenever that squeeze ended up releasing and finally pushing to the upside, price went from around $500 a share all the way to almost $1,100 a share. If we head on over to uranium, same exact setup. As we can see, holding on top of the 21 and 34 EMA, we're squeezing for many months in a row. Price finally breaks out. What happens? I get long and I catch this entire move up. Looking at one more example of a swing trade that I took last year on silver, still holding the equity, but the options did like 200% within like 2 to 3 weeks. But same exact thing. We have a quarterly time frame on silver, which first off, I honestly think we're going to come up and test these highs. But as we see, quarterly squeeze, building a base on top of the 21 and 34 EMA, this is telling us that a big move is coming on silver. I entered at the very end of this candle right here on the quarterly time frame, caught that pop up. So again, if you can piece together what price is currently doing with the 21 and 34 EMA, as well as looking for a squeeze, that gives you an edge in the market to understand which way the squeeze is going to fire, but it's also telling you that a big move is coming. Now, I personally like to get into the trade before the squeeze fires. The reason being, again, if we go back to the quarterly time frame on this silver, if we can get in before the squeeze fires, price is still very condensed, we are going to catch that expansion in price, which as a result is going to help juice our contracts and we're going to be able to make a nice profit. So again, with swing trading, we want to be in before the actual move, which leads me to the next point. How do we know when to get into this swing trade? There's another indicator that I like to use known as the stochastic slow. And this is what helps to tell me now is the time to get into the swing trade. Now, what the stochastic slow is it's pretty much a variation of MACD and RSI. This purple line is pretty much going to be your RSI, just telling you the overall strength. And then this red line right here is essentially your MACD. Whenever the red line curls over the purple, that's a sell. Whenever the red line curls above the purple, that's a buy. So now if we're looking at this silver example, as we can see, price just actually let's head on over to Costco and look at the monthly time frame. That's an even better example because Costco sat there for so long consolidating on top of that 21 and 34 EMA. So how did we know then was the time to get in on Costco? Well, as we can see, we got the buy signal right here. So this was your first confirmation to get long on Costco. We're squeezing, we're building the base above the 21 and 34 EMA. Everything looks super bullish and we get a buy signal right there. That's your first confirmation. Couple months later, we get another small stochastic buy signal, which is another confirmation to get long on Costco. If we head on over to the uranium example, if we're looking at this uranium, building the base on top of the 21 and 34 EMA, we're holding it, boom, we get a buy signal right there. A few months later, boom, another buy signal right there, giving you double confirmation to get long. Now, there is one more indicator that we'll talk about here in a little bit that'll help give another confirmation that now is the time to get long on your swing trade. But let's look at one more example on silver. How did I know to get in before price broke this quarterly symmetrical triangle? Looking at the quarterly time frame, we're building the base on top of the 21 and 34 EMA. We have a quarterly squeeze. And guess what? At the end of this quarter right here, that is when we got the first quarterly stochastic buy signal since 2019. So that was telling me now is the time to get into this silver trade and take the longs. Now, the final indicator that I like to use to help tell me now is the time to get into the swing is the on-balance volume. Now, with the on-balance volume, I just overlap it with my actual volume. But essentially what this is is this is going to show us overall money inflow versus money outflow. So if there's more money inflow, we're going to get a higher reading. If there's more money outflow, we are going to get a lower reading. If we're looking at this silver trade, not only did we get the stochastic buy signal, we're building a base on top of the 21 and 34 EMA with a squeeze, but also we can see that the quarterly on balance volume started to break out of this on balance volume, but we can also see that the quarterly on balance volume broke out of this symmetrical triangle before price ever did, which is a signal that SLV is ready to make its move higher. If we head back on over to Costco on the monthly time frame, as we can see, when price was sitting on top of that 21 and 34 EMA, again, building the base, stochastic buy signal, squeeze, what did the on balance volume do? Well, we had the highest on balance volume here when price was trading at all-time highs, which was around $600 a share. But when the on balance volume started to break out, which is telling us there's more money inflow now when Costco was trading at $500 a share compared to $600 a share, this is a clear signal that now is the time to get long on Costco. Or if we head back on over to the uranium example, again on the monthly time frame, what do we see? We have that monthly trend line right there. Price is building a base on top of the 21 and 34 EMA. Squeeze, stochastic buy signal, two of them. But then we also have this little on balance volume symmetrical triangle. Well, what started to happen as price started to break out? The on balance volume was showing new highs. So there's more money inflow coming in, and now is the time to get long on uranium. One more example for that Amazon that I showed you guys earlier. Go to the daily. Again, as we are building this base on top of the 21 and 34 EMA, we have the squeeze, stochastic buy signal. So I personally got long on this day right here. But as we can see with the on balance volume, we drop down, we set these lows right there. We start to get back up above them. So we're giving it a higher high. We pull back. This is our higher low. And this is personally when I got long. Well, what do we do with the on balance volume? Higher high, higher low, higher high. And price continued higher into my overall price target. So from those examples that I showed you guys, that is picture perfect A+ for what I would look for in a swing trade. So something that I'm in right now is on X. Honestly, I am looking for a potential add, but as we can see, monthly time frame, on balance volume very clearly broke out. Squeeze, buy signal over here, constantly holding the 21 and 34 EMA. I really like this setup on X. But now that you know what to look for as far as an A+ setup for a swing trade, so that is going to wrap up this video on swing trading. If you guys did find value, make sure to smash that like button as well as clicking that subscribe and that bell icon. It would mean the absolute world to me. Everybody have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.